How do you keep your home life and work life separate? Deb Lee tells us how on today's Keeping You Organized. Well, joining us today on Keeping You Organized is Deb Lee from dallisonlee.com and Soho Tech Training. We're going to get into all these websites, Deb, but we'll talk a little bit about that today. But welcome to Keeping You Organized.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Well, we are in the midst of getting ready in just a week or two for some major holidays, and I thought we could start it off with some holiday tips for organizing. I just put you on the spot here and say, what do you do to get ready for the holidays? Or are there some things that you've kind of run in maybe with some of your clients?
You sort of want to plan a little bit. So you don't want to fly by the seat of your pants, so to speak. I mean, that might work for some, but really a little bit of planning goes a long way. And one of the things that you really want to try to do is figure out exactly what it is that you're doing. Are you going to be hosting a dinner? Are you going to invite people over? Are you going somewhere else? So you want to figure out, do you need to make adjustments at home? What kinds of things would those be? And there's menu planning and recipes, and then there's the actual cooking and logistics. So are you really going to be able to pull that off? And then beyond that, I imagine people are going to be buying presents and gifts. And so having a list is really, really crucial. So don't walk in blind. Don't walk into any store without a list, especially during the holidays. You want to make sure that you're clear. You're going to get X and Y and Z and walk out, or else you'll come back with way more.
But that's not the strategy the stores want you to hear. They want you to come in and do buy that thing that's on the end cap that is shining at you, and you're going, wow, that's kind of exciting. So
we're not going for exciting. We're going for bring my list. Yeah. We're going for practical. You want to make sure that you're buying a gift that is meaningful to the person you're buying it for. Yeah. So put some thought into it, but then get it out of your head and put it on a list, because nothing will be worse than forgetting someone and hurting that person's feelings. I mean, I don't care about presents, but other people in your life might, right? So definitely think about it. So buy a thoughtful gift, but put that on a list and maybe have a secondary choice. So if the person you love you're going to buy a gift for loves music and you think music is a way to go, you should have a backup just in case that CD or the MP3 that you're trying to download is no longer around. So you want to make sure you have your backup.
Well, and I think lists are really good too, especially just so you don't, like you say, so you don't forget somebody. And sometimes they can be helpful to put your budget down. Because I know in the past I put the list together. Wait a minute, I don't have that much money to spend this time. So time to reorganize.
That's a really good point. Figuring out a finite number. I know that for some folks that I know, they actually come up with a dollar amount ahead of time. They talk to each other and they say, okay, we're only going to spend $30 maximum. That's it, or $10 per person, and we're using a group of 5. Right. So to really narrow that down, because you can go off and spend money on gifts that you are ending up paying for a really long time, especially if you're breaking out the plastic and using credit cards. So you're going to get hit by an interest rate, and then long-term payments for something that, if you're not careful, it might not even be meaningful to the person that you bought it for. So really keeping in mind your budget and how much you are willing to spend and can afford to spend is really crucial.
Now, do you have any special holiday traditions that you like to celebrate, or things that you like to do that maybe involve a little bit more than normal planning or organizing?
No, I'm a planner.
I hope so.
I'm a planner. I don't really have too many traditions myself. I know growing up, getting the tree was a huge big deal, and picking it out and smelling it, and it's just such a fun time. But as I've gotten older, I haven't really developed too many traditions myself. I do, however, think that people should come up with things that work for them. So sometimes there's a moment where you can go back and tell stories from the past, share pictures, come up with what would work for your family. And it doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to cost a lot of money or any money at all. You can actually do some fun things together. I know a group of friends who actually go out. They don't really hang around and have, a tree. They actually go out together. So make the tradition something that fits your lifestyle and the way that you live presently. Because if you're holding on to some things that you did, several years ago, but don't fit with your life now, it might not feel the way that you want it to feel. So I usually say, pick something that works for you, and anything will do, and it doesn't have to cost any dollar amount at all.
Now you got to come clean. Do you have all your shopping done by July, or I mean, when are you kind of done by? Because I know you're a planner.
I I am a planner. I tend to actually do things with people.
Okay.
I like to spend time with folks. So, there might be a card or two that's being given. There perhaps is a gift that's given, but usually I'm saying, hey, let's hang out. And this is like throughout the year, not just at holiday time. I'm big on seeing someone, spending time with them. And when you do that, you're consuming that. You're not bringing home something necessarily that either you don't like, or you aren't sure where to put, or you just don't know what to do with it. So I think experiences are really, really crucial, really, really important to spend time with folks. I mean, you can do lots of fun stuff together. So.
Well, the gift of time, right? I mean, that's
gift of time.
Right.
Yes.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your. I know you have a lot of different parts of your practice there,
yes.
But let's talk about maybe more of the traditional organizing and some of the kinds of work you do, and maybe even illustrate it by some of the more recent clients that you've worked with and some of the things you've done. Because we always like a good organizing story, you know.
I don't know if I have an exciting organizing story, but. Usually my clients are in the most recent times, they're moving, they're relocating. This last client that I worked with a few days ago is actually picking up and heading off to a new state. So we shifted gears. When we first started working together, it was about unpacking and getting ready and getting settled into a new place. And now fast forward just, a few months, and life has, changed because something new came up, and now she is moving. So we had to sort of, reconfigure the way we work together and start all over again. And then instead of unpacking, we're now packing up again and making that move a little bit easier for her. So it's not unusual to find folks who are sort of transient in this area.
Right.
They come for a little bit and they think they're going to be here for a while, and then something else happens, and then they move on again. So helping a client move or relocate is usually one of the things that I do.
Now, when you help someone move, do you try to get them to downsize a little bit? I mean, not necessarily, because they're going to a smaller place, but because they shouldn't be moving all this stuff, and half of it's going to end up in boxes in their new basement too, right?
I do try to get them to think about that. So I never force anyone to throw anything away, because that's not my job. However, you do want to make sure that you're moving with things that you will actually use or benefit from when you get to your new location. You don't want to have to rummage through the box of papers that you have no idea what's in there when you get to your new location, because you want to spend that time unpacking and getting the rooms ready so that you can start living life. So I do try to get them to think about very clearly what's important and identify what they will put where. So these are my office papers, and they're going to go into the home office file cabinet. Mm-hmm. And they're going to live here until I get them in the cabinet. So to really come up with a plan, I'm a planner, come up with a plan ahead of time so that it's easier. You don't want to move with stuff that's just, for lack of a better word, junk. Right. Some things that you just don't use anymore, even if they're in great condition and they're brand new, or they're still in the box with the tags on them. If they are not benefiting you or you're not using them, then it's clutter. So right. Nobody wants to move with clutter.
Yeah, and people get this sense, I know, like when we moved and the house is finally empty, and you wonder, how can this house be so empty? But you have to get it down to where you are.
You do.
There's nothing left. And at some point in time, then you're out of there. But, in addition to the moving and the relocation kind of work, what are some of the other types of organizing that you do on maybe the residential side of your business?
Yeah, I tend to help folks with their clutter hotspots. Usually someone will call and say, oh, my whole house is unorganized. Mm-hmm. And there may be portions of the house that's unorganized, but I try to help them sort of narrow down the spot that they're going to start with. And sometimes, it's in the spaces that they spend the most time, and usually that's in the kitchen. Mm-hmm. There's usually a sort of a family area off of the kitchen as well. And of course, the home office tends to be another spot that tends to need a little bit of help, because paper is one of those things that comes in. It never seems to stop. It just comes in every day. And unfortunately, it is something that you have to process every day. And when you're short on time, that can be a little tricky, but usually it's, kitchen areas, making sure that we are, because that's the hub usually of a home, it's the drop-off point of things. So sometimes it's the mudroom leading into the kitchen area. Sometimes it's the actual front entry that leads into the kitchen, and you can see a trail from their front door off into the kitchen. So the kitchen and I'd say the home office tend to be the places that I spend a lot of time generally with a client.
Right, and if you can neutralize those areas, that'll actually spill over into the whole operation of the house. Yeah, that's great. Well, we're going to take a quick little break here, and that topic of paper versus the technical, that's going to be a good segue into our second part of our talk with you today about the other part of your business. So we are with Deb Lee from DAllisonLee.com, and we're going to find about the other half of her business when we come back on Keeping You Organized. Never lose your stuff again. Introducing the new Stick and Find personal tracking device from Smead. Stick and Find trackers use Bluetooth technology to help you locate your keys, electronics, pets, kids, and more. Using the free Stick and Find radar app and your smartphone, you can locate your stuff up to 150 feet away at the touch of a button. Stick and Find works with many popular iOS smartphones, tablets, and select Android devices. For more information, go to smead.com/SNF or contact your local office supplies reseller. Never lose your stuff again. The Stick and Find Bluetooth location tracker from Smead, keeping you organized. We're back now on Keeping You Organized. We've got Deb Lee from DAllisonLee.com and another website, which is SohoTechTraining.com. And that's a string of words there, so you're going to have to kind of reverse engineer for that us and tell us what does that all mean.
So Soho Tech Training, small office, home office tech training. So the clients on that side of my business are small office or home office folks who need some help on the technical side. And usually we're talking about apps and websites and tools, tech tools that they can use to manage their business more effectively. So they don't have to spend so much time researching. It can be very exhaustive, looking for things that you need to actually maintain your company or even just get it started. And I help to take care of some of that by doing teleclasses, sharing timely articles and information with folks that they can use so they can get off the ground running. So it's Soho Tech Training by providing technology tools so that they can really focus on growing their business.
Right. Now, you've been a professional organizer, or at least a certified professional organizer since 2008, correct?
Correct.
And so you've seen some time go by here. Do you see a new trend of more and more, small office, home office kinds of things?
I do see that. I do see more people sort of, taking that leap into entrepreneurship, usually on their own. They're usually those solopreneurs. Sometimes they're a stay-at-home mom or dad who just, this is a new way to sort of bring more income in, but at the same time, they've always had a dream or a passion to do something really great, and they have a talent that they want to share with other people. So I do see more people sort of jumping into the entrepreneurship ring, if you will. Yes,
Right.
I think it's probably something that's happening more and more. Whether it's because a job market isn't that great, or they just always wanted to do this thing, and now they're taking the bull by the horns.
Right. Well, and I think one of the biggest challenges those kinds of people have are, especially if they're working at home, and maybe you've got some advice that you work with people on this. How do you separate work from home life?
Oh, wow.
I mean, do you say I work certain hours, or, when I'm in this room, I'm in the work mode, or how do you keep people from, I guess, overworking and having a more balanced life?
As I was just talking about this with a colleague earlier today, when you're an entrepreneur, you're so immersed in every facet of the company, and you do sort of need to pull yourself back a little bit and sort of curtail some of that. So yes, having office hours, not answering the phone before a certain time, or responding to emails, if it comes in at 9 p.m. at night, getting to it the next day, to really try to set some boundaries, or else you're going to be working all the time. You'll never have any downtime, and that will lead to burnout. So to be able to structure your day as much as possible with some flexibility, but structure it so that you have times that you can be productive, times that you are replying to emails or phone calls, and then the time that you stop and you spend it with your family, or you get some much needed rest. So it's easier said than done, though.
Right, yeah. Well, now
Yeah.
you do a lot of this tech training. What are maybe the top 2 or 3 things that you see people implementing, either with technology or techniques, to either gain more time or become more organized? Do you see some commonality between clients or things that you recommend?
Well, I see people trying to stay focused, and they're looking to technology to help them stay on track. And there are a couple of apps that you can use to actually just kind of stay off of things like, say, social media can be a huge time suck. We can spend our whole day on Pinterest or on Facebook. And so there are some really cool apps that you can use to really stay focused. But I'm also finding people trying to figure out how to use things like social media. How do I get the word out about my company? How do I utilize this tool that is primarily free, and I want to make use of this resource, but I just don't have the time to be on Pinterest and Instagram and Facebook and all of these other sites. So to figure out how to navigate that, and then also the basics of just running your company. How do you keep track of the dollars and the cents? How do you keep track of sort of what direction the company is going in, and how you intend to get there? So there are so many different facets to entrepreneurship that people are just clamoring for this information about not only being productive, which is obviously crucial. And there's by the way, some great apps for project management and keeping on top of your tasks. There's a fairly new one called Carrot, Carrot. It's a very snarky app. It almost feels human-like. It says, you'll incur her wrath if you do not get your to-dos done. It's a very cool way to actually get your stuff done if you kind of like that sort of human-like quality about it. So there are really some cool apps out there. And I sort of pull all of this information together so that people can make a choice. They can figure out which one would work best for them.
Do you have any good tips on how people deal with email? Because there's so much email, and especially if you're in the business world too, you get even more. What are some tips that you have for email management?
Yeah, I would say try not to use your inbox as your to-do list. So you want to recognize when something is a meeting. So if a meeting request comes in, you want to handle that with your calendar. Okay. And whatever your calendaring system is. If there's a task that comes up, something that you have to do, it needs to leave the inbox and hit a task list. And then if it's a real message, an email that you just need to reply to, then reply to it. You don't have to reply to email all day. Certainly, choose the times of the day when you feel you have a moment to actually read them and then respond. Usually people say don't check your email in the morning. I think you shouldn't respond to your email in the morning. I think it's okay to take a peek if you can control yourself. I think to give yourself an opportunity to kind of see what's coming down the pike. And you might have clients that are in other time zones. So you might have to check your email in the morning. So I think that's okay, but I don't think you should respond immediately. I think, especially if you have to craft a response that requires some thought, you need some time to do that.
Are you a proponent of closing your email and opening it every hour or every 2 hours or 3 hours, or you just leave it open and have the little notification thing distract you every 2 seconds?
You just hit the nail on the head. So turn off the notifications. No dings, no pings, no visual cues, because all of those things distract you. And each time you switch from task to task, you lose a little bit of your ability to get things done effectively, but also efficiently. So turn off the notifications and choose a time of day, whether it's mid-morning or late afternoon, 2 times a day, 3 times a day, if you will, that you will actually check and respond, whether it's emails or voicemails. Choose a time. Don't spend the whole day. Sometimes we get caught up with the phone in our hand and we're just scrolling and looking, and what are we looking for? Instead of spending your time looking for something to reply to, that's just busy time. Actually figure out those things that you have to be working on and spend your energies really focused on those. Usually email requests come in, you don't have to respond straight away. So giving yourself a schedule to check is really a great idea.
Right. So, okay, let's get inside the head of Deb here. And what are a couple of the productivity either tools or systems or things that you use on a daily basis? I mean, are you using an electronic planner? Are you using a paper planner?
Yes.
How do you organize your day? Do you do it the day before? What's your system?
I like to look at my calendar and my to-do list the evening before.
Okay.
Unfortunately, sometimes I do get caught up in that entrepreneur trap where I'm working fairly late into the night. So I have to, certainly that's something I'm working on, but I usually look at my to-do list and I look at my calendar for the next day because I don't want to get a surprise the next day. So I want to make sure I'm prepared. And if I need to make changes to it, I can do that. I use a Google reminder that gives me my agenda for the day.
Oh.
And I get that every morning at 5 a.m. my time. So I look at that when I wake up and I say, oh yes, so today I'm meeting with John at 2:30 or 2 o'clock and we're doing this Skype interview.
Right.
So I know it's coming and I can plan and prepare myself.
Now, when you say reminder, is that where Google says exactly what it is, or is it just a generic thing saying, look at your calendar for the day, or is it every little appointment that you have comes?
It's my daily agenda that I set up with Google from the Google Calendar settings.
Okay.
And I tell Google that every day, please send me my agenda with everything that I need to do that day, so I can figure out if this still works or if I need to make changes. So that's one of the tools that I use.
Okay, great.
I also use an app called Due, D-U-E. It is a very simple app, a very easy app to use, but it is also extremely annoying. It is.
I think you like these annoying apps here. I don't know.
It will nudge you either every minute or every hour, depending on what you set. And for a while, I had it on every minute. So if I said, okay, at 1 o'clock, I'm going to do X. And if 1 o'clock came around and I didn't do it, I would get a buzz. And if 1:01 came around and I didn't do it, I'd get a buzz. It would continually alert me until I clicked on the box that said, yes, I've done it. So I have found that very annoying nudge helps me to get stuff done. And I actually use that app every day without fail.
Doesn't that burn the battery on your phone, though?
Oh, gosh. Well, no, because now I get them done.
Oh, okay.
I get it done so I can cut back on all those nudges.
Great.
So, yeah, so that's one of my favorite apps to use. And I, of course, use Google Calendar. So those two in conjunction really help me a lot.
That's great.
Yeah. And I actually like also writing things down. Sometimes I will put aside my technology and pull out a piece of paper and write down the top 2 things I want to do that day. And I really take great pleasure in crossing them out. Sometimes I will have done something already that's not on my list, and I will add it to my list so I can cross it off because I feel like I've accomplished something.
Right.
So I really, really, I suggest that anyone who likes using paper to continue using paper, of course, but if having a list in front of you can help you tackle those to-dos, definitely, I would recommend that.
Yeah, the ultimate goal is getting it done, right?
Getting it done.
Yes.
That's right. Getting it done.
Well, we've kind of run out of time here. What's the best way for people to reach you and maybe just kind of recap both parts of your business and maybe both of your websites
sure.
so we know how to turn people your way if they're interested? And do you do virtual coaching and consulting as well? Yeah. All right.
I do virtual coaching and consulting on both the residential and the small business end. So if you're looking for some, like Skype coaching or even phone coaching, I certainly do that with both dallisonlee.com and as well with sohotechtraining.com. Soho Tech Training is slightly different in that you become a member of the website, and every month something new comes to you in the way of by the way of a teleclass, and there's continually new information being added as well. So small business owners who need technology help would go to sohotechtraining.com, and everybody else can just head on over to dallisonlee.com.
And that pretty much covers everybody, right?
Yes.
That's great. Okay. Well, Deb,
Yes.
Thank you so much for being with us today, and we hope to talk to you again on another episode coming soon.
Oh, thanks for having me. It was
bet.
great fun today.
All right. It's Deb Lee from dallisonlee.com and sohotechtraining.com today on Keeping You Organized.